Good morning. It's Saturday. It's Art of Rock. We're doing this again. Every damn Saturday we're doing this, in fact, if I can remember how to do it. You know, first and foremost, I want to say a thank you to the Tongva people, who are the indigenous people who once walked the land of California, and I want to thank them for looking after the land. So, Tongva, you rock, and we have a lot to learn from these fantastic peoples. I'd also like to say, join us every Saturday here on Angelspit's Twitch for Art of Rock. Boom. It's there. So go like it. Go follow that shit. And we'll get some craziness. Also, I want to say a big thank you to Angelspit's Patreon, who keeps this going. Angelspit is currently experimenting with Angelspit 3.0, which is distortion, samples, and great stuff. I'm building an instrument, which I will be telling you guys about later. And it's madness. Angelspit's new album, it's not really new anymore, it's been out for 6 months. It's called Diesel Priest, and it's bloody awesome. Go check it out, because it'll give you nightmares, I hope. I just want to give people nightmares. Our new single is called Stand in Line, and there's a whole bunch of remixes, some of whom are here, and it's bloody awesome. And there is a new remix coming out very, 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 very shortly. And here's Vince. Angelspit also just dropped an album called Sequence 1 Glass Jar, which is something I'm really excited about because it's bloody awesome. Go check that madness out. There's a whole bunch of bands you need to know about. It's on Spotify. It's here. Many of those bands are here. And I have to add some tracks to that as well. So go check the mayhem out. Also, while we're there, if you like your music non-stop 24 hours and bloody fantastic, you need MTV TV. So there is MTV TV because they're bloody awesome. They also have a Patreon. Thank you, low system warning on my computer. Jesus, will you fuck off? They also have a Patreon, so go back those fuckers, because doing a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-week fucking YouTube, Twitch is not cheap, and we need it. So go jump on MTV TV, have it playing in the background, and you will be amazed at the music you hear. Welcome to Art of Rock. I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to turn everybody else's mics on. Ba-boom. Max, what's your question, baby?
So, I am still learning the process of making songs, and what's been on my mind is like basically the process of an idea into a song. And I feel like guitar players, like the traditional way is a guitar player will pick up a guitar and like riff on something, put some words together, and the song grows from there. So I'm sort of wondering with electronic and like non-guitar bass, like when I make music, it feels like I'm sort of hobbling stuff together, but I wonder if it starts with a loop and then people just sort of write lyrics on top of that. I assume people have different ways of working, so I'd love to hear what people have to say.
Thank you. This is a really good question. It reminds me of a joke. Remind me after this and I'll tell you that joke. Alex, I'm going to throw it open because I know a lot of people are going to have a whole bunch of fantastic ways of approaching this one. Alex, tell us your secret. Well, and Vince, really come back. I'm sorry, go on.
I'm really bad with this as well. What advice I've gotten is just try not to keep it in the loop for a long time, but just carry on and extend as fast as possible. If you have like a loop-based instrument, then make another loop, copy everything over, and then start tweaking it and so on. Yeah, and also maybe if you have a DAW, not use it in loop mode, but like in linear mode. Yeah, that's what I have.
That's great. Thank you. Ivan, hit me with your rhythm stick.
Record your vocals. Just like make it like just you know, grab a recorder, record your vocals, but just sing them how you think you'd like them to sound in the song. And then once you've got that recorded, take that stem, drop that into your DAW, and write the music to those vocals. That way, you're like the vocals will drive the beat and melody then, and so now you don't have to make that stuff up. Because then, like in Ableton, you can go and drag that, use Ableton to analyze your vocals and get you started on the beat and also get you started on melody.
Brilliant, man. I love it. John, what you got? John, I can't hear you. John, you need to unmute your mic.
Let's try this again. So I do the exact opposite of Ivan. So what I'll do is I will write lyrics. I will make loops in music, and then I will sit there and I will listen to it like over and over again, and I will take the lyrics that I've written and try to fit the lyrics to the music rather than the other way around. But I think some of that is also like reflective of like how confident I am of like my lyrics, and so I don't think of them as perfect. I think of them actually as very imperfect, and I also have been experimenting more with using my voice as an instrument, as a source of noise and experimentation, and like and just the stuff that I've been the happiest with over the past 6 months have been things that where I've just listened to it like 50 times and it's just going fucking wild and just trying different things, and then and recording it, and then listening back. It's like, okay, in my head that sounded like okay. Did it actually come through? Cool. Let's just let it go. But but broadly, I use Ableton Live as well. I mean, there's no right way to do this. But it's like I use Ableton, and what I will start off with is bits of a melody or kind of like a lick or is something, and I will build up a number of different segments, and then I use a grid-based controller. I have an Ableton push here. There's also but I started off with Novation Launchpad. Same kind of idea, and there's plenty of different devices. There's no right one or right way to do it, but what I use it for is arrangement. And so I will take those individual pieces, and then I will come up with kind of like an idea of like, all right, here's the flow, and then I'll actually sit down and I'll kind of perform it, using those individual pieces. And so what had been like 5, 10, 15 second loops are now sequenced together in a particular way. And that gives me a foundation in which I can start moving things around and actually having that more coherent arc. And that's also what I'm looking for, is that arc, because I'm really good at coming up with like a 30 seconds to a minute of something that sounds good but doesn't say anything. And so it's like, where is this direction? Where is it going? And so by going into that arrangement mode where I have those different pieces and I start sequencing it together, that's where the song itself kind of grows. But yeah, there's if anything, it's like there is no right way to do this. But it's like I want to try now, recording the lyrics on their own and then building something to it.
Okay, that was great. Ivan, I'm going to throw it back to you. Can I go in after you, Ivan? But if anybody else wants to, just jump on in. But Ivan, I want to go in after you. Go.
Also, keep in mind, these are scratch lyrics. They're not the final product lyrics. These are lyrics that you're going to use. This is the audio that you're going to use to drive the songwriting. So, expect that you're going to end up re-recording those. Also, to make life easier, and I just thought of this, would be handy is to have a metronome running while you're doing that, so you can set so that you can make the intentional decision on what the BPM is going to be when you get to the final end there.
Okay. I'm going to say thank you. That there were some really good ideas there. Maz, tell me, do you go? Are you lyrics first or music first?
I've been doing lyrics first, because it's been starting just with poems and trying to fit bit that together somehow. So I've been doing like really simple chords and stuff.
Okay.
And I feel like I'd like to get to a point where if I have like a bit of an idea for, because so far it's been like, okay, something's on my mind, I'm going to write a poem about it. I want to get to a point where something's on my mind, I want to write a song about it. And yeah, that. I feel like there's a difference, and I'm just trying to feel out that difference now.
Okay. This is such a great question because, like, ultimately, this whole art of rock thing is about this. And all of us probably right now are struggling with the song. There are so many different ways you can attack the Hydra. And one thing I do like doing myself personally is starting with lyrics. Although what I'm doing now is I'm trying to start with noise, samples, clangs, and clashes, because they're not bound to the concept of music, and therefore they're hinting more alien and aggressive lyrics. But it's not about me here. If you have, for starters, the approach you're taking, you're going to need a fundamental musical knowledge. You're going to need to say, okay, well, these chords are making me feel happy but a bit creepy. So you're going to need a couple of tricks up your sleeve of music that also suggests that. A simple thing to do that is something that works constantly is sitting at a piano, a keyboard, a guitar, whatever, with those lyrics. And like Ivan said, you might want to record the lyrics, put them in a loop, and just listen to those lyrics. So it becomes this slurry, this salad. And then you start asking yourself what music, you're sitting there playing music along with it, what music from the perspective of a soundtrack suggests this, is hitting this emotion. And what's really fun is that you might start using music that doesn't suggest the emotion, but it actually puts the lyrics into a different light. So ultimately, fuck around. I personally think that it takes me 40 to 80 hours to program a track. From, okay, I've got the ideas in my notepad, now I'm taking them to the sequencer. 40 to 80 hours. I will spend months behind the scenes kicking out ideas in that notepad until it's like, okay, yeah, this is ready, because I've learnt that if I go to the computer too early, I'm going to fuck it up. And it's just rushed. And that's a problem I'm guilty of. And then I spend all of this extra time trying to make it sound like it's not rushed. So play with it as much as you want and experiment with it. Writing a song's not easy. Sometimes they just come to you. Sometimes you have to coax them. Putting all the detail and everything else takes time. So that would be my suggestion. If you are also with those, whatever your chorus is, sing it with lyrics. Sing them. Don't sit at a keyboard. Don't go, oh, this is a cool melody. Don't do that, because you just don't do it. Use your voice, and the connectivity between your brain and your voice is so much better than the connectivity between your brain, your fingers, and your understanding of a keyboard or a fretboard. This is natural. Let it be natural. The chorus is going to suggest music. You start speaking it over again, like Ivan said, maybe set up a metronome or something, talk it through, and a way of singing it or presenting it will begin. And once you have a concept of how the chorus sits, how it sings, then the rest of the song starts coming together. I'm going to stop ranting and I'm going to throw it to John.
Alex had his hand up first.
Alex, why did you take your hand down?
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to say that if you are good at writing with a keyboard or writing with a guitar, you can just write with keyboard or guitar, and then just transcribe it and put everything in the synthesizer. I mean, I think many songwriters used to write this way. especially like in decades prior.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Here's Rose. John, hit me.
So, two thoughts. Some of it is like when you're, just working out the lyrics and just working out kind of like that feeling of like, it's like, how am I going to perform it? Like, it's like I have like a nicer mic, that I can use for recording, but like, it's putting yourself into that like, mindset of like, how am I actually going to do this? Because I've absolutely like murmured stuff into my phone and like just like kind of like workshopped things as it went along. But it's like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of good. But you're like in the moment, you're just like, yeah, that's kind of angsty. I don't like it. You can go back and forth. So Amazon Basics has kind of like this knockoff Shure SM58 for like $20. And just it's dead simple. It's just a good old-fashioned dynamic vocal microphone. It's Federite. That's it. And long cable, and it's like and just gives you that opportunity to like just act like you're performing it. Even if you're in your basement, even if you're like wherever, actually like going through that, going through the motions of like, if I'm performing this in front of a live audience, and that susses out a lot of like garbage. Honestly, it's like, this doesn't feel good. I feel goofy like doing this. Don't do it. Do it something else, and like and use that as part of that workshopping experience, as opposed because like I can create something like crystalline in like my head, or just like kind of on a notepad, and then it's like, and then I actually like try to perform it and realize that like this doesn't work, and I can force myself through the motions of mechanically duplicating the thing that I have done, and do it formally, and like, yes, I have performed it and it sounds like it has.
Thank you, John. I want to pick up on that as well, is that find the funnest way to do this. Find the funnest, craziest, most relaxing, wonderful, maybe not relaxing, the funnest way that you can possibly do that, including dressing up in clown gear, including whatever, but have fun. Because we're living in a world where increasingly there's not a lot of fun. Or we've forgotten how to have fun, or we're discouraged from having fun, or we're told that all of this shit that isn't fun is in fact fun, but it's not. You're damaging yourself. I just want to take 1 second and acknowledge what Rob said in the YouTube chat, which is RIP Andy Fletcher from Depeche Mode. And what Martin Gore from Depeche Mode, who I really hope stays together, because without Andy Fletcher, I don't know how that band's going to stay together. I digress, I'm sorry. What Martin Gore did on almost every song is sat down with an acoustic guitar and figured the song out at a piano or an acoustic guitar, just singing along, writing words down and writing chords in notes in boxes on top of the chords, old school. And then fleshed it out. But it's that actual process that takes a long time. And spend time on it, don't rush. That's my thoughts on it. I can tell my joke right now if you want, or somebody else can jump in and say, oh, Alex. By the way, Vince, where the fuck are you, man? Get back in here. Alex.
If you feel comfortable, how do your notes usually look like? Because when I try to write things down, it's usually just maybe 3 things, and then I lose ideas what to write down.
I can show you. This is really embarrassing and it's horrible. Wow, there's a whole bunch of negativity out Carl's mouth. That's what my notes look like. See that big cross through it? That means it sucks. This is version 2 over here. And so I'm very fortunate. Please don't transcribe that, because it will sound like arse. This is an Ice Planet 9000 idea. I can show you an Angelspit idea. So you'll notice that I think I've done this one. Yeah, okay, so here is, should I see that one? Hold on. Then I have to tell you this joke, because it's such a good joke. Fucking good joke. That looks like tits, doesn't it? Okay, so here's another idea. This is actually put on the Angelspit Patreon recently. So you'll see notes that are the timings. I highly recommend you learn the note value, crotchets, quavers, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You learn how to notate your ideas like that, because sometimes going to a door is a pain in the dick, and it's very refreshing not to go to a door. I find personally, I get best results by pencil on paper. Ta-da, there. And there's more ideas there, and I've also got like ideas on how words fall together and the chords that are falling under those words, and often I'll have like the lyrics written out and I'll have the chords on top of them. But this is a lot of the bass lines, a lot of the chordal movements and stuff like that. Also, incidentally, I have this. So this is my printout for keeping track of the samples. I may have talked about this before. So that'll have the sampler, a description about the sound, what the outputs are, what distortion pedals and delays and compression it's all going through. I just like working with pen and paper. I can do all this stuff electronically, but I just find there's something magical about holding, this is my album. This is my thought process. And having bits of paper and stuff in there as well. I see a lot of people who will put decoupage of cutouts from magazines and stuff in there as well, because it's fun. You open it up and you get inspired. It's fun. I just don't think that working on a door is fun, because working on a door to me is about as fun as doing my taxes. And that's not fun. So there you go. There's Carl's thoughts. Can I tell my joke?
First of all, thank you for sharing. And the second thing is, does your blog have stuffing, like the lines, the bars, or the notes?
Stuff. Oh, stuffs. Well, yeah. I used to get like musical stuff, like the 5 staffs. Yes, I used to do that. It's just I don't do that because I've become lazy. Like if I had a book that had white paper on one, like blank paper on one side and a staff on the other, that would probably be really handy to me. But it's just that I haven't found that in a while. I used to have these manuscripts when I was at university. They were like A3, which in American is big. They were this big, and I would just sit there and it was so much fun, because it was putting your, it was really getting in there and really losing yourself in musicality and losing yourself in this thing. And it doesn't really matter how much knowledge you have or you don't have. I think it's fundamentally important to be able to write out a rhythm, because if it's a good rhythm, it's simple. And if you can, try and figure out the notes and things as well. So even if you write C, B, E flat, or B flat, E flat, whatever. That seriously didn't answer your question.
No, it does. It does.
Can I tell you my joke? It's all right. Thanks. So I have this friend in New York. Actually, Rose, you might know them. And he's this wicked piano player, like wicked. And he was playing in a bar, and this guy came up to him, kind of dodgy, and said, look, I've got this gig, and it's really like highbrow, kind of like a 1% party, like almost borderline Illuminati, kind of eyes wide shut. Could you come along and play? And he said the money's insane, and he went, okay, as long as I don't get murdered. So he rocks up to this mansion, and there's a couple of jazz musicians they'd never met, and they were just sitting around jamming out jazz standards, and it was great. It was really good. And he got talking to this elderly woman, and as it turned out, she was the woman that owned this fucking mansion. And that she was a really kind woman, and she supported the arts and all that sort of stuff. And she said, I've always wondered, how do you create a song? And he goes, well, you sit down at a piano. And she goes, stop. I want you to show me. Write me a song. And he goes, now. And she goes, right now. So she takes him upstairs to this drawing room with this freaking grand piano, like 9-foot Steinway grand piano, like 100, 200 years old or something. And it's just perfection. And he's sitting down, and as he hits it, the tone fills the room, and he melts. And he puts his fingers down, and everything just sounds fantastic. And these chords start coming, and his right hand started working on this melody, and it had a lot to do with like this space and everything. Like, the room was designed for this piano, and he's just beginning to, you know, that moment when the song comes and you're in the hands of the gods, and it's like the gods are just giving you nectar. It was that moment in this place. And she ribbed him, and she said, you're not composing, you're just making that up. Which is so ironic. Of course that didn't happen, that was all bullshit. Because it's a good joke. So take that and embellish it as much as you want. Make them naked. When you tell the story, make them naked. Or something. And but that's the thing, is that I have no fucking idea. If you go into every single song going, I have no idea what I'm doing, oh my god, you were in a good place. Yeah, it's the best place you could possibly be. No idea what I'm doing, no idea how to do this. Keep away from process. Take it from me. Because the first thing your brain is going to want to do is to create process around the way you write, a way the ideas come, you process them and you get them down. As soon as it gets down on paper, and then when it starts, sure, there's a bit of process, but I just think it's important to avoid process all the way, and that's why these meetings are so good, because it's like, hey man, I like what you do, I'm going to try that. And I'll pick up on what John said about getting a microphone, jumping around the room and performing it and having fun. Because remember, often the objective of music is to create something that makes you feel fun. So have fun making it. Infuse the energy of fun into the notes and into the note choices. Does anybody else have anything they want to throw into this while I drink my coffee? Or does anybody else?
Honestly, why? Because I have to go to work.
Oh, you have to go to work? Okay. I see a hand of... Oh, so you're going? Soon. All right, we love you. Thank you so much. Rose, I see your hand.
What's up? So last night, I was in the club, the goth club, and it was so much fun because I haven't been in the goth club just to be at the club and not to be performing, or you know what I mean? Like, it was like literally just, my friend was in town and he's from North Carolina, and I was like, let me show you a fun time in New York, you know what I mean? So I was like, I just did my research. I'm like, what party's going on tonight? I was like, here's the 2 parties that are going on tonight. Come to me to one of them, you know what I mean? And at first we were like a little suspect about like the night, because the front of the space, and you'll see this with a lot of goth nights, they'll be like separated, you know what I mean? So it was like all normal people, and we were like, are we in the right place? But then we see the poster outside that has the name of the event, so I'm like, okay, no, we're in the right place. And I was like, you know, we sent a scout to go to the back to see if there was actually like a dance floor and stuff, because it just looked like a bar with like a pool table, but they had a back room, and that's where the goth dance floor was, and the goth DJs and goth people. Like, we saw a couple of like little goths coming in right at the beginning of the night. We're like, okay, we're in the right place. We just gotta give it some time. And it was so nice, and it was so refreshing to just enjoy like the sound of goth music and see goth people just dancing around. And like, I love how everybody is so true to themselves and so unique in the way that they move and the way that they're enjoying the music, you know. And I just had like a real, like, I was like, I'm home. Like, it was just such a nice feeling, and I was like, oh, you know, it's like I spent so much time avoiding going out because of this pandemic and everything, you know, and only going out when absolutely necessary, that to have this moment of just being present in the moment and enjoying myself and enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying the lights, enjoying bass like going through my body, because I was really close to one of the speakers and stuff. it was just like fucking magic. So I highly recommend that y'all do that sometimes. Even if you just do it at home, just turn on some music and lower the lights a little bit and have your own little party, you know what I mean? And remember that that's why you make music. Because I think it's really easy to get stuck in this train of thought where if it's not making money or something like that, then it's not valid anymore. You know what I mean? Like you're judging its worth by how marketable it is, by how much money you're making on it, and whether you want to continue doing certain things are dependent only upon whether you think that your crowd is going to like it and you're going to make money off of it. And there's a certain point where that's really bad and it's really harmful to you as an artist. You know, and I've seen it happen in circus as well, where there's certain things where you're like, you start to forget that you do circus because it's fun and it's weird and it's so like, you know what I mean? Like it's such a rush to do something so out of hand and so supernaturally strange in front of people, you know what I mean? And then you start thinking, okay, well, I can only dedicate this much time to things, so I should only do the things that are profitable for me, and I should forget about doing these other things even though I really like them because they're not necessarily going to make me money. And I think you got to find that balance. You know, don't get caught up in like, I'm only going to give time to things that make money, because that is a trap and you will be caught in it and you won't be able to move forward as an artist. You have to remember, this is art and this is creativity, and you need to be able to accept that. You know what I mean? You need to be able to be like, okay, like creation is not dependent on money. You know, it's not the be all end all. And you get better art when you're just making the art that you can make. The best art that you personally can make, you know? Okay, that's what I wanted to say. That's my rant.
Thank you for the rant. I'm going to put a pin on that. I want to come back to it. Ivan, talk to me.
You know, speaking of getting out and, you know, doing the live thing, being among people, we last Friday we went and saw Christina Obrikaya, Russian pop, like crazy Russian pop singer, not Russian, Ukrainian. Was a Ukraine benefit in Chicago, and I have to say that was probably the most fun I've had at a live show possibly in my life, saying something. Because it was just, everything about it was amazing. It also, that is a wild thing. Like, we were easily the only people in the audience that spoke English as a first language. So, you know, like, you know, after a while you get that like 13th warrior moment and you start to recognize that you know, yeah, it's Ukrainian, but you recognize the words. It was just mind-blowing. And the coolest things happened, you know, in that side of the world. You know, it is normal to bring your kids to a show, like little ones, you know, because it's going to be safe, it's going to be fun. And there's a treatment of the show that is very opera-like. And so at one point during the show, it is normal for a bunch of kids to rush the stage and hand flowers to the performer. Just like it's such a beautiful thing. But it's Chicago. They're used to having like a bunch of security guys standing between the front row and the stage, you know, to prevent anybody from getting up there. And suddenly the security folks they're just overwhelmed by a bunch of like 8-year-old girls, and left with like, what do? You know, this is not normal. You have to really keep things under control while remaining wildly hands off, because the audience would have killed them if anything had gone wrong. But then, at that point, the power even went out in the room. It's a thunderstorm, and like everybody just turned on their phone lights and relit the stage. And you know, she's a powerful enough singer that she was still able to fill a room with voice, anyways.
That's fantastic. So I just want to jump in. this is interesting that I think one of my favorite quotes is from It's Coming, guy with the mustache. Come on, the guy with the mustache.
Dali?
Dali! Young artists of the world, do not commit suicide. Surrealism is here. Young artists of the world, do not commit suicide. Surrealism is here. And I reflect on that so often because I think that we're due for a movement. And I think that I just think that there needs to be a movement. I think we need to have a movement, and either that's that's what that is. And I think that the political situation is calling for of everything that is beautifully on fire. I don't want to go down the road of politics right now. I think we need a movement. I think that artists need to go harder, lighter, funnier, darker, angrier, loving more, passionate. Passion. I think when people go out, they need to be inspired to put on more makeup. And a quote from Vangeli Papanayathu, who unfortunately, I hope I got his name right, who passed away within the last 2 weeks, was, above all, aspire to beauty. Was that the quote? It was Greek, but it was translated. Above all, and he said that in one of his last interviews, above all, aspire to create beauty. And it was interesting that I feel that, echoing what you said, Rose, is that there's so much pressure where it's become, above all, aspire to be famous. Above all, aspire for clicks. Above all, aspire to create something that an artificial intelligent algorithm is going to put in other people's feeds. Like, who's the battery cows now? I think that, maybe that's why I love writing on paper and trying to... Who was I talking to about zines recently? Like, I just want to do a zine. We were talking about zines. I want to do a zine where you can say whatever the fuck you want. Oh, boy! That's my man. Look at that. We need to do a zine. You can say whatever you want, and out it goes. And no algorithm's going to cancel you, and nothing's going to shadow ban you. And the ridiculous, endless bullshit that we are faced with all the time. Like think about how much this taxes your life and your decisions and what you say, because you're scared that an algorithm, an artificial fucking intelligence, is going to shut you down because it's fearful that your words and actions are going to minimize clicks, likes, etc., outrage, and therefore minimize the financial possibility of that site making money. So, fuck them all, I say. Bros, your hand is up.
There I am. I was going to say that, attached to what we were talking about before, I just played a show at Lucky 13 Saloon, which is one of my favorite venues in the city because it's a venue that's specifically made for, like, very old school. There's, like, dancers on the bar and stuff, and they're all, like, tattooed and pierced and badass. And, then there's, like, a badass stage in the back with a really good sound person. It's made for live music. You know what I mean? And there's a difference between a club that has bands play at it versus a club that is made because they love live music, and that's what this place is, and it has a lot of cool vibes to it and cool artwork everywhere. But I digress. I was bringing that up because what you were saying before really struck me. The last show that we played, at the last minute we had to replace a band that was going to play, right? So, I reached out to some friends, and like you do, you know what I mean? You're like, hey, who knows somebody that's good that can bring at least a couple people, blah, 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 You make your phone calls. So my friend is like, oh, you know, my friend really loved your show. I brought him to your show last time, and he has like 2 bands, so maybe one of them can play, you know? And I was like, sure, you know, put us in touch. So this band was called the Pequeque Project, right? And they are like a Spanish industrial metal kind of band, you know? Like it's a very unique sound, and it was really cool because there was a lot of Latino people, you know, there was a lot of, he's Boricua, so there was a lot of Boricuas out in the crowd, you know, so he was like talking to the crowd in Spanish and English, you know what I mean? And this dude had so much charisma and personality, and this band was so fucking tight. I was just like, yes! Like it was such an awesome moment of just like vibing with it and having such a good time. You know, even people that were with me that I knew that didn't speak Spanish at all, the music was so infectious and catchy, you know, like the melodies and everything, the rhythms were so good that they didn't even care that they couldn't understand it. You know what I mean? Anybody who's listened to Rammstein, you know what I mean, that doesn't speak German kind of feels the same way. It's like, it's something just really, you just like the way it sounds, you know? And that's what I love about music. Music is a universal language. You know, if you do it right, it doesn't even matter what language it's in or whether you can comprehend it, because you can still enjoy it. And I just think that that's a really powerful thing, and it's really exciting. And it was really fun to see somebody with like these electronic elements and these heavy rock elements, and all of these musicians were obviously very, very talented, you know? So it was just like an explosion of good fucking live music. It was the best. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you, that's great. I appreciate that very much. Perhaps the core ingredient to this is passion. And for you to rediscover your passion, and for you to ignite and to bring the rock to your passion, whatever your passion is. Because I think sincere passion is possibly sincere, seething, loving, whatever passion. For me, everything's about seething. Is I find what's lacking, and the channels, the freedom to express that. But when you talk to somebody else, all they want to hear is sincerity and passion. It's all people want. I had something mind-blowing to say. Oh, I think it's really important that all of us start doing scales with our voices. Da, la, 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 la. La, 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 la. You notice how out of tune I was? I don't give a fuck. You need to do scales, because your voice, and you can say, but I don't sing, but I don't care. Do fucking scales. Like, for so many of us, the vocals are a core part of what you do. So start practicing your voice, start singing, and even if you do or don't incorporate melody in what you sing, training your voice to explore its range is nothing but a good thing. So with passion comes extreme hard work. Like, please remember that what we are doing is a kung fu, what we are doing is a martial art. So you have to go into your freaking dojo and you gotta do push-ups on your knuckles. You gotta do 300 sit-ups. You gotta make it happen. Because when it comes time to get in your studio and do that vocal, if your itty-bitty tiny vocal cords aren't ready to rock, and if they're not, you know, if they're not in some form of shape, you're gonna hurt yourself. Plus, you're not going to be able to absolutely bring the tidal wave of rage and passion that's here out. And I think the main person I'm saying that to is me, because I keep going, I want to start doing vocals again. I want to do good. So I just did this opera. I've been down for a week because I've been doing this opera, and it was mind-blowing. And the cast and the crew were so amazing. We're basically catching up every 2 weeks for drinks now. It was about the Chinese immigrants in the United States. You always see westerns where there's Chinese people working on the railways. It tells their story, and their story is a pretty horrific one. So the cast and crew were predominantly first or second generation immigrants from China or Japan. and they are bloody amazingly talented people. Being surrounded by 25 opera singers for 2 weeks, it's like, fuck. It was really, to me, inspiring. And just to hear them warming up for an hour before the show, and then being able to go out, party, and laugh, and be so down to earth, and to have these stories. And, but, yeah, my point is, push-ups on your damn knuckles. Does anybody else have anything amazing they want to throw in? A question or anything at all? Let's get the fire started. Alex!
So for people who record their practice sessions, I have the question, how do you review it and when do you review it? Do you play or sing for like 10 minutes, record it and then listen to it back, or do you have like direct like minute for minute, try something out, listen to it back, or do you just have one big practice session and then after maybe an hour listen to it back?
Option C, an hour, but I'm going to throw this to Rose.
So if I'm recording stuff, sometimes I'm only recording audio, and sometimes I also like to record video. And I usually try not to do it like, or analyze anything or look at it until like a day. You know, like I like to give it a little bit of time to sit, because when you first do stuff, it's, you know, you have all these expectations in your head, you know what I mean, of what it sounded like in your head. And then sometimes it can be a little jarring when it sounds different than what you expected it to. So you're not really looking at it in a way that is going to be advantageous to you, at least for me. So what I usually do is we'll record everything, and then we'll just like watch it back the next day. You know, we'll sit together, you know, or I'll email it to whatever, you know, I'll Dropbox it to somebody, you know, and they'll be like, I'll be like, hey, you know, over here, you need to work on this. Hey, at this part, wouldn't it be nice if you guys crossed each other? You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be cool if I just leaned on your shoulder while you fucking rocked out on your guitar? You know, you see how you aren't looking up? You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that you can point out. And I'm really lucky in that, you know, people in my band are always willing to listen to me. You know what I mean? So it's like we don't have any kind of combative conversations. It's more like, hey, I noticed this little thing, and maybe you were nervous, or maybe you know, you were just focused on like getting the right notes, but you could look up more and engage with the audience more instead of just focusing on your instrument, because people are there to see the show and to engage with you, and they need to feel like they're connected. You know what I mean? So even if you have to look down sometimes on the more complicated parts, have those moments where you just look out, pick somebody, you know, in the crowd, you know, especially if somebody's doing the most. If anybody's doing the most at your show and it's just like dancing really hard, or like you see that they know like the words to your song, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that. You don't have to like stop and say anything, but you need to like point to them and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, you know, like do anything to acknowledge that that person is making you so happy, and they will remember that for like ever. You know, they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe that you noticed, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this song was my favorite. I was like, yes, I could tell it was your favorite. You know, and it's just like a really awesome moment of connection. Like I felt like I was having a concert for myself. Like it was just us in the room, and I was like, because we were connecting right here, you know? That's what music is about.
Rob.
Did you say Rob or John?
I meant John. So I was reading Rob's comments. John.
Fucking hell. All right, 2 parts. I'm out of practice. All right, so to playing to a person or like having a band notice, like a number of years ago, there's a band that I really enjoy called Shining. They're out of Norway. They don't come to the United States very often because they're in fucking Norway. But they were touring with Dillinger Escape Plan, and we're opening for them. And you know, they were hoping that like this was going to be like, you know, a breakout. And it kind of wasn't for them in the U.S. They've focused more on Europe since. But like I drove like 2 hours to like catch that concert live, and and like a bunch of people like were being like super rude. Like you could tell they were there for Dillinger Escape Plan. They're like, who the fuck are these guys? They like walked off of like the bar. I'm like, I'm right up there. I'm there. I'm here for you. I'm here for the opener. I'm not here for the main. You know, Dillinger Escape Plan is awesome. They put on a wonderful show, and I've seen them live multiple times. This isn't a diss on them, but like I was there for Shining, and here, you know, it's like a continent away. Here's someone who's actually like going along with the lyrics and actually knows like every song that they're playing, and it's just like super jazzed. And one guy from the band noticed it, recognized it, like between sets. Like I saw him like, you know, towards the back having a beer, but like obviously like kind of like, you know, sitting back, but like he's out there. It's like, all right, walk over, talk to him, and it was like, hey, you were the guy up there who's like knew all the song. Thank you so much. Like, you know, it's like I will always fucking remember, you know, that moment, that connection, you know, when someone like acknowledges like that, and not just like, you know, thank you for buying a beer, but like thank you for actually being here and actually being present and part of it. Yeah, I just wanted to build on that moment, and then because I'm stupid, I had forgotten the other thing that I wanted to talk about. I'm blanking, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. Actually, John, at this point, can I give you the floor because I have a cat issue I need to deal with?
Yeah, sure.
So if you could, I think we're talking about Revolution, and you guys talk about Revolution. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
If there is one thing that you could do to change your process, what would it be? What's one thing that would be radically different, you know, about the way that you approach music? Rose.
So we're talking like ideally, you know, is that what you mean? Or just something that you could actually do?
Something practical, like something that was like, I've never tried this. So it's like, you know, I always do this. I've gotten in this, you know, I've gotten in this rut. Like, what is something that will get you out of that rut, or just be like, I've never fucking tried that. Let's do it.
Okay. I got something for you guys. All right. So sometimes, you know, after we've been doing, you know, I've always told you guys that like I'm all about rehearsing, especially when I have a full live band, because I don't think that you can put on a good show if you don't rehearse together. It's just not gonna, there's so many different elements to putting on a good performance, and you need that interaction, and you need to know not just what you're playing, but you need to know what the other people are playing. So that way, no matter what happens, no matter how shitty the sound system is, no matter, you know, how bad the monitors are, there's somebody that you can latch on that you know what the fuck they're playing. But you won't know that unless you play with them. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen unless you're actually playing with them. So sometimes what we would do,
communication and that language, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes what we would do, just to make it fun, because we would practice so much, you know, that sometimes certain band members would get tired of it, and they'd be like, well, I already know these songs. And I'm like, well, rehearsal isn't just for you. Rehearsal is for the entire band. And I've noticed that you're not doing X, Y, and Z. So why don't you work on those in the rehearsal, since you don't need to work on your notes and you think that you know everything, you know what I mean? Like, then you need to work on your performance, because your performance could be better. And then I'll play him a video, I'll be like, see what you're doing right here? No. You know, like I literally had to teach him how to rock out. It was really funny because he was very like reserved, you know, but he was very pretty. So it balanced out. Anyway, once again, I digress. But what we would do to spice it up sometimes is we had like an LED like panel, like one of those Chauvet, you know, panels and stuff that's like sound reactive, and it'll like go through different colors and stuff. So sometimes just for shiggles, we would like put on the smoke machine, we put on the Chauvet light, and we would rock through the entire set like we were in the club. You know what I mean? We turn off the light, and the only light is like from that Chauvet thing. You know what I mean? Like it would just make a vibe for yourself. You know what I mean? Like if you need to shake it up, make your space different in some way with whatever you got around. You know what I mean? Whether it's like maybe you just have one big light and then you just change the color. You know what I mean? Like I have a big, you know, the light that I use for like videography stuff, and you know, it has all these different LED, you know, colors in it, stuff like that. So you can literally just be like, okay, I want to see what it feels like if we play this song with a blue background, or with blue and green, or with pink and blue. You know what I mean? Like, let me see which song feels right with these colors. You know what I mean? And you can play around and you can like find new dimensions and new things about what you've already written that you just didn't notice before, you know? So I find that very helpful sometimes. It's not something that I can feasibly do all the time, but it's a nice way to shake things up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. I mean, to reflect, and Carl, we're talking about like ways, you know, it's like what's something that you can change, you know, do to change your music process, like, you know, to take you out of your rut. And Rose was talking about like, you know, literally changing the physical environment, making it like a more radical change, like using LED lights or a smoke machine so you feel like you're in a club.
Thank you. This is excellent. Can I go in after Alex? And thank you, John. This is a great question.
Only if you wait for Ivan. You got to take.
Yeah, after Alex, because Ivan, Alex, me. If that's cool.
You may pay the bills, but I've got the floor. Alex.
I think what would benefit me most if I would be just a bit more stubborn and just try things without second guessing myself, and just because I usually have this feeling that I'm not doing it right and that I'm not doing it efficiently, and I think if I just would stick to my guns and try things, and even if they lead nowhere, carry them until they're finished, I think that would benefit me so greatly, because I start things and then I stop. I start things and then I stop because I feel so insecure that I don't want to be in that headspace anymore. And that's why I'm getting stuck in all of my projects.
If you give yourself like a time constraint, do you think that could help? Like just to break it and say like, fuck it, I gotta keep going?
Yes, the problem is then I'm usually don't have the time for polish. I can do that, but then it's like really rough sketch and also limited in scope.
So what would you do to change that?
I have no idea, except for maybe just, I don't know, meditating beforehand.
Well, meditate on that, and maybe think on different things, or also like think of like what is, you know, if you're definitely in that mindset of like looking for that paralysis, it's like, you know, being stuck of that perfection paralysis of like not wanting to move beyond until you have gotten to that utopian. You know, it's like look at artists who just like are the complete opposite. Like Look Mom No Computer, for example. You know, Sam is like, he's absolutely just is both will be incredibly driven and will work on incredibly complex things, but also just does it like from the seat of the pants. And like, I mean, it's like, oh, that not even a happy little accident, that he just doesn't care. I'm going to keep going and we're just going to own this. So meditation and inspiration. Ivan, what you got?
Lysergic acid dithalamide, I think. But more seriously, okay, first, Alex, fear is the mind killer. Do not let fear like drive you. Go try doing a couple of things out in the real world that you'd find are right across on the other side of your comfort barrier. You're going to discover quite quickly that that's where the rewards are. As for me, for real, I really desperately need to get my third floor done this year so I can move my space up to the bigger space. I really need to separate my work from home environment from my compose from home environment. Because right now, the difference between me writing puppet code and music is there's no difference other than the keyboards.
I hear that. The ability to leave work at work is really important, and especially if you're, working from home, which more and more people are doing these days. Like I do that by, even if you can't escape the room, like if it is a separate computer, at the very least being able to shut a laptop or turn off a monitor and be like, this is where this is, taking place, and divorcing yourself from that because it's. Yeah, I absolutely hear you. Carl, you are next in the queue.
Hi. So,
I can't hear you because you're muted.
thanks. Something I really like to do is watch, and I was thinking this while Mez was talking before, is in the process of composition, find a video that reflects whatever it is you're doing. And that might be a gore scene from a horror. Or when I'm doing Ice Planet 9000 stuff, I have these videos of images painted by the sci-fi, masters, Mead and Foss, and it just slowly cycles through these images, and I have these images going on in the background. And having that sort of thing, even write specifically to those things, it's really great because it sort of opens your eyes and your being more to the to what's going on, and to the moods and everything else that you're trying to achieve in your music, that these videos are also movies, whatever, are achieving. So it once again, it's sort of like you're writing a little soundtrack to that movie or to movies such as that. I would like to, Alex, what you're bringing up is a really important point, and I'd like to talk about it. I'll let Rose go first, but if it's okay, I want to circle back. Alex?
What particular do you...
Well, I want to ask you about the paralysis, but what I want to do is because this is something else, so I want Rose to go first, but then I want to come back to your paralysis, if that's okay, everybody.
Yeah. All right. So I think I've talked about this before. I definitely have gotten myself in that mindset before. I think every artist honestly goes through that, and there's like this popular saying, like a master has failed more times than the novice has attempted. So you can't be afraid of failure, and that's really what that is that's stopping you, is that you're second guessing yourself, you're overthinking it, you're like, is this right, is this wrong? It's music. Go with your instincts and go with what feels right for you. You know what I mean? Like, don't get so stuck in your head, and remember that done is better than perfect. You know what I mean? Always. Done is better than perfect. Even if it's not perfect, that's okay. Even if you just make a skeleton, that's actually fine. You know what I mean? Then now you have the bones, and you can fucking attach the flesh and the hooks to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good. Everything is still progress. So don't get so caught up. And if you feel like one song is really like making things difficult for you, if one song is really like doing that, then switch to a different song. Sometimes just like that switch up will activate a different part of your brain, and you're not obsessing over that little piece anymore. And then you come back to it the next day, and all of a sudden you figured it out because you were busy working on something else. So it calmed your brain down, and it made it stop rotating on that same fucking track, getting you nowhere. You don't want to be the hamster on the wheel going nowhere. You know what I mean? It's just like, you gotta get out of your head and just go for it and not sweat it. I think that once you unlock that ability, you're going to be unstoppable, and it's just a matter of time and attempts. The more you attempt it, the better you're going to get at doing it. So you just have to keep trying. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and that frustration is absolutely normal. So stop worrying about whether it's right or wrong, or am I doing this in the correct way? Everybody has their own way of getting from point A to point B. There actually isn't any one perfect way, because there's so many different styles of music, and there's so much different stuff that you can do. You know what I mean? So do your music. Do what you like. What sounds good to you. You know what I mean? And if that, listening to something, really heavy, or watching like a really cool horror scene is what gets you amped up. Sometimes we'll just like put on YouTube, and we have a couple of our videos that we like that are just like super heavy and rocking, that put us in like that mood to like, yeah, like that you're just ready to go, So if you have a song like that, that's just like your fucking, your motivator. Or if you don't, then find them. You know what I mean? Think about what song is it that when you put it on, like a perfect, like, you know, workout song. You know what I mean? That song that just gets you like, oh, like I used to love listening to the Mortal Kombat soundtrack when I worked out because it was just like this hard techno. It was like, you know, it's just like this like really like hard line, and you're like, yeah, you know, and it's like everybody knows what the next thing is gonna be. It's like Mortal Kombat. You know, you have this moment of like a power surge, you know. So find your power surge. You know what I mean? Find what it is that gives you that little jolt of adrenaline that you need, and just keep going, because you're gonna find it. You just have to not stop, and that's the hardest part. That's why being a musician is hard, because in order to really get good at being a musician, you have to do it for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody could easily write music, then the whole world would be musicians. You know what I mean? But it's not like that. You know, there's a certain amount of work that goes into it. There's a whole hell of a lot of doubt. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of like, what am I doing? Why am I wasting my time doing this? And, you know, with all the stuff that's happened in this pandemic and all the things that I've lost, I just decided to accept the fact that music is really what makes me happy. You know, yeah, I like these other things, and that's fine, and I'm still gonna do those other things, but music gives me something that absolutely nothing else does. And that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I think I'm the best at it. I'm not doing it because I'm the best singer. I know there's singers that are better than me out there. There's always gonna be somebody who is better at whatever you do than you are. You know what I mean? But they are not better at doing what you can do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're technically better, but they can't create what you create. Only you can create that. So accept that and turn that into your strength and kick some ass. All right, that's it. That's what I got.
Boom. Thank you. And John, thank you very much for holding the floor. So Alex, I don't want you to feel like you're being like, because all of us have this issue. I have mentioned it before. I have a thing called pre-6. Every time I work on a track for 4 to 8 hours, I update its draft number. So after working on it for about 20 hours or so, it reaches draft 6. And I call it pre-6ing because anything before draft 6 sucks balls. And I hate the song. I hate myself. I hate my life. I hate everything. You know. And the only... this is why music is just the greatest fucking martial art. Is that you have to push through this thing. This doubt, the voices, the fucking voices. You have to push through the fog of those voices and just keep going. And it's so interesting that you have to defy yourself. And you have to declare war on yourself to push through those things, to defy yourself, you know? You can't... You have to be extremely cautious of social media, because social media is all about win, 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 win. Fame, look at me, shiny, polished, da-da-da-da-da. It's not the trial, it's not the method, it's not the failure. That's why we have these meetings, to talk about failure and to not just talk about it, but to celebrate failure. That, you know, exactly as the quote said, the master has failed more times than the novice has attempted. Like, fuck, I love that. And a constant thing we have that comes up is all of us talking about failure. And it's critically important. Please, yes, go.
Yeah, maybe I can give concrete examples. So I'm working on a remix for Julius for like forever, and I really like what I've got. I recorded the bass line, and I got the feedback that it's cool, but it needs more variation. And I think I tend to agree, but I struggle to come up with something that fits, because I already have this this development, and I need to put some thought in it how I can add some more extra things happening. And also I recorded it, and when I recorded it I thought, oh, this is the fattest bass line ever, I love it. And then I listened back to it on my Bluetooth speaker, my laptop speaker, which is pretty good because it's like because they're better than average. But for some reason, like on every other system than my usual studio monitors, it sounds like flat and tinny, and I have no idea why. And I find it so demoralizing because I thought it had like the best thing ever, and suddenly it collapses in itself. And the other thing is, on my personal song for my own project, I have this really cool instrumental. I struggled with vocals. Then I had the idea to add vocals in the style of the XTG cover of Nico's Mütterlein. But then I sort of don't get into the groove because my instrumental is much faster than the song I wanted to take as an inspiration. No, I struggle to make it fit, and it feels like, I don't know, like if you can't see where you're tripping, and I would constantly trip, and there's like the floor is slippery, and I can't sort of get a firm grasp, and that's keeping me from, I don't know, progressing and getting a firm idea of where I want to go.
Okay, can I respond to that and throw it to you, Rose? Thank you. Firstly, there's a band from Australia called Midnight Oil. Midnight Oil. They have a song called Power and the Passion, and I'm sure Rob's very happy that I'm talking about this song. I want you to listen to that song. It's rock and roll. It's from the late 70s, early 90s. Great, great track. Their drummer is fucking phenomenal because he doesn't play anything like Stuart Copeland. He just plays nothing. Another one's Grinspoon. Anyway, I digress. Power and the Passion does this thing in the last chorus where it goes off. It goes off somewhere else, and the spaceship takes off. The way it's weaved into the choruses and the way it makes that transition is brilliant. Listen to that track, remembering that around about the Fibonacci, which is kind of 5/8 through the track, we want to start going somewhere different. We want the spaceship to take off. We want the twist in the story to kick in. And that could be as simple as the bass line following the chords, or introducing more chords. Introducing a set of chords that have always been in the chorus, but you've never had them in there. Or they have always played, chords have always played, but and the bass always sits on a D, for example, while these chords are moving over the top of the D. Boom, 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 boom. But in the last choruses, the bass starts moving with the chords. And that's going to start throwing things, and the chords start moving upwards. It also comes a lot down to dynamics, because if they're saying, oh, there's not really a lot happening, take more stuff out. How many songs have a kick drum, a bass, and a vocal? Mostly, Blue Monday, some of the greatest songs ever written, and they slowly bring stuff in. Some of them are every 4 bars, some are every 8 bars, some are every, okay, now we've gone to verse 2, I'll bring that other thing in now. I will change the bass line up a little bit. I highly recommend that you stop listening to goth industrial music. Like, sure, keep listening to it, but if you want to inject something new into your music, find other music. I try so hard not to go to my fucking Spotify playlist, which is full of industrial music. Listen to experimental, listen to James Brown, listen to funk, listen to Fleetwood Mac, specifically music that the world says, this is a great album. In fact, there's a YouTube thing, a guy does albums that changed music. Listen to those albums. Fleetwood Mac, Rumours, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. Listen to them, and listen to what these people who are masters, listen to the decisions that they've made. And listen to, and then you go, how does this affect my music? How can I merge this into my music? Figure it out. Every time I have tried to emulate or be inspired by another track, I fail. And I always go, gee, I want those drums to sound more like this band, or da-da-da-da-da, or I want to do this thing that this... every single time it fails. Maybe that's me. Maybe that's in my execution. I don't know. But I am constantly reminded, and it has been brought up today, that the most powerful thing you have is your... remove yourself from the structure at the computer and play the part of it in the car over and over again, and sing to it until you find the right structure. Make a bridge. That's from Rob. He's typing in. Miss your face, Rob. And that's really some great advice. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Before I started reading from Rob. Alright, it doesn't matter. Listen to these great albums. Bach, oh my god. Listen to these great albums. And just throw yourself into the concept. Should I... hold on, give me a sec, Rose. I see your hand, Alex. Talk to me.
Yeah, I think pulling from different pools isn't a problem I have. It's more... I think it's more the opposite problem. They try to reinvent a wheel every time. They want something that's like incredible new, incredible brilliant. And because the bar is so ridiculously high...
What bar? Whose bar? Okay. Why is that bar high? Who set the bar high? Who inspired that bar to be high? Not you. Who did you listen to?
I think the problem is that I want to make the music I want to listen to. And I want to listen to new music with interesting ideas.
Okay.
And I think like I'm usually harsher on myself than I am on others, and that created this idea, because I don't think there's anyone saying, well, I don't know, your synth sounds yeah, oh wow, a sync sound, so original. But to myself, I do that, like, wow, I don't know, two detuned saw waves. Who would have thought of that? And everyone who listens to music doesn't do that, but I do that to myself.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Hold on. Just give me a sec, Rose. I give you permission. I don't know if you give a fuck, but I'm going to give you permission now to... If what you want to achieve is the level of a black belt, it's coming back to fucking Shaolin. It's coming back to Kung Fu. If what you want to achieve is the level of a black belt, what level would you put yourself at now?
I don't know the karate belts, but I think
so 100% is what you want to achieve. At your area of expertise, where are you now?
My problem is that my area of expertise is like all over the place. In certain areas I think I'm like really far, and in others I totally lack. And it's so unequal that it's hard to progress, because it's from 10 to 60 in some rare instances. And because of that, like I sort of don't progress in the... I try to avoid the areas I'm not good at, because I know that I'm not good at, and it hurts because I want to be good at them. It's like...
Alright. The point I'm trying to make is you need to allow yourself to be at 60%. You need to let yourself be there. Because people who are at 60% also make fucking amazing music. There is a process that you're going to go through, and there are lessons that you are going to learn that no one else learns on their journey at 60%, specifically you, that you have to allow yourself to learn these things. Because when you get to the point of 100%, you're going to be going into therapy, and you're going to go, well, I've got all of these things, and and I've got these processes, and now I have to try and unravel this shit to go back to 60% or 40% where everything was magical. See, the thing about your journey and the journey is that you have to allow things to be magical. You have to see that there is magic. And you have to celebrate that magic and be inspired by that magic. But increasingly, and this is not just you, that's everybody, hashtag what the fuck is going on. We don't allow ourselves to be there anymore. We keep seeing the golden city in the future, which is just a mirage. And we keep going, I want to go to the Golden City, quick, hurry, 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 because all of my friends are at the Golden City, and look at what they're doing. Sitting around bitching is what they're doing. You are on this journey. Every step you take is a new fucking place. You've never been here before. So you and everybody else and this fucking cynical bastard here has to enjoy the ride. Has to be inspired by the ride, because when you get down the track, you're going to look back and remember this has got everything to do with what you are right now, because you are going to make mistakes, and in those mistakes is your opportunity to develop who you are, how you react to those mistakes, how you use those mistakes. It's quintessential to who you are as a musician, and therein lies your originality, is in your mistakes and your goof ups and all of that stuff. Because you can't look at the Prodigy and say, I want to sound like the Prodigy. Hey, who doesn't? But you can't do that, because you didn't take the same mistakes that the Prodigy or Skinny Puppy or all of these other bands took. You have to make your own mistakes. And that's probably it. I'm going to shut up now. Rose.
I'm back. Yeah, those were really good points, Carl. And you're like, of course, thinking right along the same track as me. It's to answer your first question of, you were talking about like writing the songs and then getting up to a certain point and not being able to, you know, like you wanted to, somebody told you that you had to work on the bass line, but then when you tried to change the bass line, it didn't go with the other stuff that you wrote. And you felt that it was, that part was finished already, right? Is that how you feel? Like that part's done already, and this is the structure and it has to stay this way. So the only thing I can change is this. And that's not true. You can change those other parts as well. Don't be afraid. You know, it's yours. It belongs to you. Nobody knows where it started and how it ends besides you. You know what I mean? So give yourself the permission to chop it up and Frankenstein it however you need to. You know, that's what I'm always trying to tell you guys. That's why I keep my little book and I have all my lyrics. Any lyrics that I don't use, that I have to cut out of it. Sometimes you'll just come up with some good shit, but like, okay, this verse cannot be like 12 bars long. You know what I mean? Like, that's too many verses. You know what I mean? That's too much shit in there, you know? And you're so mad because you're like, this is such a good verse and I want people to hear it. But that doesn't mean that you can't use it for another song. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about that. Just be ruthless. You know what I mean? Be ruthless, but in a different way. Because right now you're being ruthless with yourself and you're treating yourself way meaner than you would if somebody here in this group offered up the same music that you're playing. You know what I mean? You wouldn't talk to them the way that you talk to yourself. So if you catch yourself being really harsh like that, you need to be like, okay, wait a second. If this was a friend of mine and they came to me for help and they said, hey, what do you think of this track? What would I say to them? Because sometimes it's easier for you to be objective and to be like, oh, you know, that's not the advice you give to anybody. You know, like, you would never say to anybody, no, you suck, you're terrible, you're worthless, you should just give up on making music, period. You know what I mean? You would never say that to somebody, probably, right? There's very few people in the world that you would actually say that to. And certainly none that you actually respect or care about, right? So why do we say that to ourselves? Why? You know, it's something that all artists do. I don't care what media that you know, it's because you've internalized this idea that art is worthless. And I feel like this is something that has come up in my life so many times, you know, and it was really hard for me to build a life where I could make money off of my art. And then I finally did, and then COVID came and then destroyed everything, right? So it was like this time of like, oh shit, you know, and everybody's like got their own opinions of what you should do. And they're like, oh, you know, you've been lucky that you've always done something that you like. That's what I was told, right? But sometimes you have to just do a job that you don't like and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was not lucky. I took chances. I was not afraid. I fucking went for it. Everything that I've gotten and everything that I've achieved has been through hard work. It hasn't been through some greater deity that gave me that power. It hasn't been through luck because, hey, you know, I'm not at an advantage that a lot of other people are at. You know what I mean? I'm a person of color. I'm a woman. I'm doing a style of music that, you know, two styles of music together that a lot of people don't necessarily think should be together. You know what I mean? And just be nice to yourself. Let yourself be who you are and accept that you are an artist and you must create. And go ahead and create. You know, chop up that verse if you need to. You know what I mean? Take 2 bars off of it. Change up the guitar a little bit. You know, the best thing that you can do is to just accept the fact that your song is not in stasis. It's not that all these pieces are perfect and just this one piece is bad. It's that I'm going to change this, and if I have to change these other pieces to make it all gel together, that's totally okay. That's just part of the process. Don't think of it as like, oh, this piece is bad or wrong. It just doesn't fit right there. That doesn't mean you can't use it in the future. You can recycle it. You can do whatever you want with it later on, add it to something else. But don't be afraid to just fucking snip, 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 snip. You know, in circus, we would have a bag of tricks, right? You literally write down all the tricks that you can do, put them in a paper bag, then you shake up the paper bag, and then you pull out 3 tricks, right? And then you just try to do them in sequence and see if they work or not. You know what I mean? Like, you see if you can actually transition from this particular move to that particular move. And it's an exercise that we do in order to shake our brains up, because sometimes you get so caught up, like you know what I mean, in this moment where you want this perfect thing and you're not afraid to explore. So give yourself permission to explore, because that's how you create great music. And you have to just let go of your preconceptions of what it has to be, what the structure has to sound like. You know, just accept the fact that it's always a working template, and that it's okay to tweak it here and there. It's okay to take these little parts out, because when you take those little parts out, it's not like they're gone forever. And that, I think, is the thing that we fall into. We start believing that, like, this is the song and I must not change anything else. No, that is the skeleton of the song. You are now adding flesh, you're adding sinews, you're adding tendons. You know what I mean? You're adding all of these things to create whatever this marvelous creature is going to become. And it's constantly evolving, just like we are, you know? So don't be afraid to evolve, because that's how you get to that really, really good stuff.
Thank you. And I'll also pick up that the thing about a character, because music is about creating a character, is that it's flawed. Hold on, I'm not muted. Yeah, it's flawed. So rejoice in the flaws. By the way, can you do a Carl impersonation? You don't have to if you don't want. But something to do is to get yourself a baseball cap with Bowie stuff on it and do a Carl impersonation when you're listening to your tracks. Because you know, if I was there, I'll say something encouraging. I'll do a Rose impersonation. Impersonate any of us. I can only say I don't mind you impersonating me. You know, for everyone. And know that I'm going to say something positive. And I'll threaten to send you human feces in the mail. That's an important part of the Carl imitation. Know that I'm going to say, what the fuck is your fucking problem? The bass line rocks. I will say, add some goddamn... and the person that mailed you the dead skunk was me, John, by the way. Add some portamento to it. Make it slide more. I'd say, what would Stevie Wonder do here? And you can do a bad Australian accent. I won't at all be offended. What would Stevie Wonder do? What would Bootsy Collins do? What would Bernie Warwell do? What would these people do to make that bass line that you're all kind of going, bass line? But I should like the bass line. Why don't I like the bass line? It's like, maybe it just needs more spice. Maybe you need to distort the mid-high frequencies more. Maybe you need to double it with a sub. It's there. Fuck around with it. We get synthesizers because synthesizers are fun. They're fun. Just reminding everyone, oh, we were stupid enough to get into music because it was fun. And now it's not fun. Now it sucks because my song sucks and I hate myself. It's funny, I don't buy gear anymore because it's like I need the... if I don't have the amazing ideas to drive the gear, I'm not buying the fucking gear. Whereas society is telling us the other way around. Oh, you should get this new blah blah blah. No, fuck off. I don't know why I said that. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. So all of you, please do your Carl imitations, and your Carl imitation must have a very potty mouth. And just focus on, there's good stuff in here. Focus on it. And remember that usually people who are listening to your music are not analyzing it as heavy as you are. And that's something I wanted to mention as well, is that so my opera gig is currently, we're throwing ourselves into the world of Aida, Verdi's Aida. And it's fascinating because it took those guys a while to write that stuff. Years. 18 months to a year to write these masterworks. And there was a lot of fuck-ups in there. And they had to go back and rewrite all this stuff. And rework this stuff. And it's a process, and it doesn't matter where you are. It's why when people talk, they and are. It's the same thing. It's a process. That's all I got. Who else wants to talk? Go. Rose.
I'm full of pep today. I'm recharged by the gossip. It's funny you were just talking about opera stuff because it made me think about my partner was actually in an opera. He was in Tosca at
Boom.
Lincoln Center, right? So he was the stunt person for the lead character, and there's a scene where famous scene, he's like escaping from prison and he has to climb down a rope and stuff like that. So they didn't want to risk like their star getting hurt, which is why stunt people exist, right? So my partner, they were canvassing different circus schools and places and stuff, and they were like, actually you look a lot like this guy. This is the first time we've had an African American guy be this role, and you look pretty close to him. All you have to do is like put your hair back a little bit. You're good to go. So they had him doing it, and he was like, I don't know how it's gonna feel. I was like, no, dude. When you have like that whole, like, all those instruments playing, and you're like escaping from the prison, and you have like the lighting and everything, and you're like the fucking hero, and you got the swag, and you're like looking out at the audience as you're climbing down, like, hey, I got out of here. You know what I mean? Like, that's a victorious moment. Just get into that character and get into that moment, and I'm sure you're gonna have a good time. And the rehearsals, he was like, I don't know. And then when he actually did it, he was like, fuck, man. He's like, that music was so powerful and so, like, I just felt it through my whole soul, and it felt like this really victorious, awesome moment. And I was like, there you go. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Like, you can really get into that. So yeah, being around like awesome music that's not necessarily the music that you usually listen to can become a very inspiring and awesome experience.
Yeah, and being surrounded by like an orchestra in a situation on stage where it's blasting at you, it goes through your body.
It's like,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it goes through your body.
You feel all the vibrations. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh.
Yeah, the literal, the what is going on from the wood of the violins and the timpanis and everything is going through your body, and it's an experience. It's real. Okay, so, does anybody else want to talk about stuff at all? Because I hate, not cobwebs, but thingos. Because I want to talk. Sorry? Oh, no, I'm down with awkwardness. I'm all about awkwardness. Does any, and also, Rob brought up a really good thing. Remember, we have the Discord. So jump on the Discord, swap ideas, etc. in the Discord. And if you want to jam with someone, Rob's bloody awesome to jam with. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So if nobody else wants to talk about anything else, we'll get off this and talk backstage, because we always do that. Yeah, because Vince is going to be busting knowledge on making guitars. Who said? Ivan said, I desperately want to know what... Yeah, Alex, what do you think you're doing poorly? What's your fucking problem?
I think my problem is that I think I'm just afraid of being, I don't know. It's somehow that I'm afraid that my song becomes worse than it is in my head. I think this is my worst problem. I feel like I should be a better performer, and I know what to do to get there, but I somehow don't do it. I just need to find a mechanism to find the space and allow myself to be vulnerable enough to practice in order to get better. And I just don't do it, and it gets really on my nerves because I'm just stagnating and...
Okay, can I really... I'm going to quickly... I see hands, just really quickly. What you need is a timetable. And you need to go, before I make my music, I am going to do scales, I am going to do sit-ups and push-ups. Because you need fresh blood pumping through your brain. Fresh oxygen. As far as all that other stuff said, none of us at all have any idea what that feels like. Do we? I'm kidding, of course. I'm going to throw it to Ivan because I got a feeling Ivan's got some wisdom.
Made more crap than you know. I've got an entire hard drive full of crap tracks. Alex, post some MP3s on the Discord. I want to hear what you think doesn't sound good. I want to hear what you think that you do that does not sound good. Because I'm in a bet it sounds way better than you think. Yeah, I mean, just post it. Do not fear. Because we're all family here. We all love you, man. Come on.
The problem is not that I think what I've got is bad. My problem is that I'm afraid to fuck it up because I like it so much. And that's the thing. I really like what I've got, but like when I try to extend, it feels like awkward, and I sort of retract it like a sea urchin who has like this tentacles, and when it doesn't like something, it pulls it back. But because of that, it doesn't grow fully and it doesn't expand. It doesn't get finished. Because every time I try something out, it's oh no, I don't like that, and then I'm afraid to try something new, and it's stupid, it's ridiculous, but somehow it keeps me from finishing stuff.
And sometimes getting post some unfinished stuff and get some feedback, because people have ideas that might be helpful, and I love getting feedback. It is always turned out to be more helpful than not. Because, fresh perspectives.
I'll do, thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
There we go. Sorry, I was fighting with the mute button. We've talked about before that how important it is to get out of your own head, how important it is to try stuff. But I totally understand what you're saying about you like it so much. You know what I mean? Like, you made this thing and you're happy with it and you like it, but you know it's missing something, but you're scared to do the change that will make it evolve into the best version of itself that it can be. You know what I mean? Because you made it too precious. And that's what I was trying to say before, where you just have to be ruthless and know that everything can be tweaked, everything can be changed, and don't be scared of that change. You know what I mean? And that's just part of growing as a musician. and understanding that that's really a very normal way to feel. You know, like you're not alone in feeling like that. Everybody, when you're starting on creating any kind of art, you know, they're gonna go through the same thing, and they're gonna go through a time where, you know, I think that we're so busy defending ourselves as artists that sometimes we can't, you know, we've internalized this mental dialogue that, you know, that becomes that harsh voice in your head that's keeping you from progressing, that's telling you that you're going to fail, that's telling you that you're not good enough, that's telling you, you know, all manner of things. Music does not have to be complicated to be good. You know, I had a friend of mine tell me that he saw the Ramones play live, right? And he saw Joey Ramone doing a solo on like just an open E string. It wasn't even like, it was just like, but he was just owning it. Like it was just like this pure 100% rock star moment, right? You know, it was just like a cool moment, you know, and it didn't matter that it wasn't complicated because that's not the style of music that they make. You know, things don't have to be this magnificent masterpiece of, you know, virtuosity in order to be fun. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think sometimes we can get trapped so much in the idea of like, it has to be this perfect, beautiful thing. And if it's not, like, I feel like this structure is perfect already, and I'm scared that you're attacking me, telling me that this part isn't, you know, needs to be changed, and that means that the whole thing is trapped. No, they just mean that that little part needs to be changed. The things around it, you can shift them around, you can see what works with what, you can tweak your guitar line if it's not quite gelling with the bass stuff that you're coming up with. Just don't be scared to experiment. You know what I mean? And just go for it. And if you're finding like, I think what he was saying about having a timetable, you should, first off, anytime before you do vocals, you should be doing a vocal warm-up. If you're not doing a vocal warm-up, then you are not giving your body the practice that it needs in order to become better at what it does. You need to make those, you need to keep training that. These are muscles. Just like this is a muscle, you know? These are muscles. You know what I'm saying? This is stuff that you have to work on. It's not something that, you know, there are some few shining people in the world that just have that natural talent, but most people, just like I was saying before, when people are like, oh, you've had the luck to do whatever you want. No, I had the determination to do whatever I want. I decided this is what I wanted, and I did absolutely anything that it took to get there. You know, regardless of whether maybe I wasn't making a lot of money, maybe I had to eat a lot of ramen, maybe I had to make a lot of rice and beans, you know what I mean? But I got to where I wanted to be, you know what I mean? And for me, that was success. And there was a lot of times when I had opportunities to make more money. I had opportunities to do things that could have been more, you know, expanded into like these bigger things, and but I just decided not to. I just decided I didn't want that, you know. And I often have this struggle when I'm talking to people that are not musicians or artists, because they don't you know, they're so scared for you. You know what I mean? They're like, well, what if something happens, and what if this, you know? I'm like, I still have health insurance. Like, I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? Like, if something happens, then there's stuff ready to go. You know what I mean? But you have to do what you love, because you're not guaranteed anything in life. You're not guaranteed any more days or weeks or months or years. You're not guaranteed any of that. So you have to make the most of this moment and this time right now. And you have to give it your all and not be afraid. You know, don't let fear be your mind killer. You know what I mean? Like, go for it. Go for it. That's the only way you're going to get better. That's the only way you're going to get past it. And if you need to do little exercises, if you need to do, sometimes what I'll do is I will, if I'm having trouble with something, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to take this whole verse out altogether. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to listen to just the instruments, and I'm going to write a whole new verse. You know what I mean? And I won't, you know, bye, John.
You rock, John.
You rock. So yeah, you know, I'm just gonna do this for the fun of it. You know what I mean? And then it's like, I'm not gonna worry about, you know, whether this is the best verse that it could be in here, but I'm gonna give myself permission to play. because that's when you get the best stuff. When you're having a good time, when you're really enjoying that moment, there is some magical shit that happens, and that feeling inside of you gets pushed out into your music and into the person that is listening to it. And it's awesome. It's the best feeling when you feel that person connect, when you see somebody in the audience, you're singing your song, or you're playing your guitar, or you're playing your drums, you're playing your synth, whatever you're playing, and you see that person and they're moving to your rhythm that you created. And it's a powerful thing. It's an amazing thing to share with somebody. It's a vulnerable thing. So vulnerability and the lack of fear and not being worried about evolution is crucial. You know, embrace failure. Embrace it. You know, like they say in the military, embrace the suck. Because there's gonna be a whole lot of shitty, sucky, crappy. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna put up links to some of my old music on the Discord for you guys, so that you can hear it. So you can hear how trash some of these recordings are. So you can feel a little bit better, because there are some bad recordings, you know, but we were just doing the best we could. We were just like a little band, and we were just doing everything ourselves, DIY, and you know, some stuff could have been recorded better than others and whatever, but those were the building blocks that I needed to get to here, you know. And when I listen to the stuff that I make now, I see that progression of all of these things and how they coalesce into something greater. And that's exactly what can happen for you, and I believe that you can do it. You just have to allow yourself to.
Thank you. I will just interject very quickly with a quote from, I believe the gentleman's name is Goethe, who said, "Boldness has genius and power in it. Begin it now." Boldness has genius and power. Boldness, genius, power. Begin it now. And it's... Please put that on your wall. I can't explain that any better than he did. Boldness has genius and power in it. Begin it now. And that's a lesson for everyone. Alex, I see your hand. Talk to me, and then we're going to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, in closing, I think the most important thing is that I somehow managed to decouple myself more from my creative output, how much I like it. Because I think that's one of the biggest points where it all comes together. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my project.
You rock. I'm going to call it. I'm going to say thank you so much. And everybody here, hang around, because Vince has got some intel for us. We're going to stream on over to MTV TV. We're going to raid to MTV TV, where there's a whole bunch of amazing music waiting for us. So thank you, Diana. Let's do that. And thank you for joining us. We're here again next Saturday. And if you want to jump in, say something, and I'll send you the link, the Zoom link, so you can jump in. But you guys rock. Bless you. Thank you. And I'll see you next week. We will see you next week, Saturday, same time. Bye. 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 Bye.